I'm going to open a new application now so that we can look at our bouncing ball movements. I'm going to go to frame 1. Then I'm going to insert our active, which will be the object that we have moving. And then I'll insert some quick backdrops so that we can bounce this object off of them. I'm going to duplicate this one so that we have one that's exactly the same for the bottom. And then I'm going to clone this one so that I have a new one to make for the sides. And then I'll duplicate this so we have the same one on the left side as well. Okay, now we have this area for our active to bounce around in. So first what we need to do is apply the movement to the active. So I'm going to click on the active, go to our movement tab here. As you can see, default it's on static movement, which means no movement. So if we look at our frame right now, we can see it's completely still. Now if we just click here and we change this to bouncing ball movement, now we have lots more options here, and it will bounce if we tested our frame. We can see it's now bouncing and moving. We need to, what we're trying to do is make this bounce off of all this box that we have here. So what we're going to need to do is make this box an obstacle for the active to bounce off of. So to make it an obstacle, we're going to have to click on each side. I'll choose quick backdrop 2, and then we can make this go to the runtime options, and we can choose our collisions and our obstacle type. So this is going to be an obstacle. We're going to look at the other types later, but for now we'll just make this an obstacle. And since this is the same backdrop as we have over here, this was automatically made an obstacle also. So we'll have to apply it to the top and bottom also the same way. And now we have it on both the top and the bottom. So now what we need to do is we're going to have to go to our event editor and make the active bounce off of these backdrops. So I'm going to go to frame 1, event editor, and now we're going to need a new condition. I'm going to click here, and now we have the active object. I'm going to right click and choose collisions, and if this object collides with any backdrop, which I'm going to choose, so now if active collides with the background, any background object, including background pictures and quick backdrops and regular backdrops, then we're going to want this active to bounce. So now we have this active bouncing. So now if we test our frame, then we're going to see that this active is bouncing inside of these walls that we made. Now we're going to look at some of the options for our active, or for our bouncing ball movement. So I'm going to choose our active here, and now look at our movement options. We have speed. We can change the speed here. If we make this a faster speed and then test, we can see that it's going a lot faster now. If we change our deceleration and then we test it, we can see that it slowed down immediately, or not immediately, but at a faster rate than if we have it at 10. It will slow down gradually until it's completely stopped. If we put the deceleration at 0, as we did before, then it will never stop moving. We can check the moving at start box, and then we also have number of angles. we can choose how many different directions the ball can bounce in. We can choose 8, 16, or 32. Then we have randomizer. Randomizer makes it so that if the object gets stuck in a repetitive motion, it will get out of that. So if we look at it with our randomizer at 20, we can see that sometimes the angles that it's bouncing off at are not exactly right because we have the randomizer at 20. I'm going to move this deceleration back down to 0. So if we change our randomizer to 100, then it's going to do it more times. It's not going to go in the right directions. If we change our randomizer down to 0, then we can see that it's always bouncing off in the correct directions. That's all for our bouncing ball movements.